Assyrians around the world. We invite all Assyrian organizations and representatives, such as associations, federations, NGOs, and Assyrian thinkers and activists, to join us on April 24th, 2025, in Yerevan, the capital city of Armenia, for the Second Assyrian General Conference, which will establish the first Assyrian global representative body. For over 2,500 years, we have carried the legacy of the great Assyrian Empire. Today, as a stateless nation scattered across the globe, it's time to unite under one voice. Together, we will create the Assyrian International Council, a global organization to preserve our culture, protect our rights, and represent us in international dialogues. Now, we need your participation. You can register and join us via Zoom, or it is best if you attend this historical event in person. We have prepared a 3-day agenda with proposed bylaws and structures for you to vote on. To learn more, email us at assyrianworldconference@gmail.com.
Hello, my name is Joseph Pirayou. My name is Joseph Pirayou. Welcome to In the Beginning Ashur program. As always, if you have any questions or comments, you can send them on the screen for us, and we will, if I have answer or be able to answer it online live, we will do that. If not, we will do special programs, Q&As. Today's program, when we did the flyer, I called it the Ashur A.C. After Clergy. We did 2 programs. It was called Ashur B.C. Before Clergy. And let me go back, kind of remind why these programs, as far as related to the clergy. We have a history. Like every nation in the world, that they have histories, some older, some younger, depending what part of the world you are. We have a history. So this history that we are right now, 2025, it shows us that we are spread as Ashuri. We are spread all across the globe. Take it from Australia, Middle East, Europe, US, Canada. We are everywhere right now. But back in 1960s and 70s started, up until then, we were in the general area of Syria, Iraq, Iran, Turkey, Lebanon, some in Jordan, some in Israel, or Palestine, if you want to call it, it's your choice. But after that, we were spread because of the political issues with all these countries that were happening. While we were in those areas in the Middle East, we were able to maintain our identity, even though there was so much pressure, because you live in a country that doesn't have the same religion or faith as yours. The name that you use, they say, oh, you're Iranian, or you're Ashuri, but you live in Iran. You're Ashuri, but you're in Iraq. Are you Ashuri or Syria? Ashuri, you're in Lebanon. Ashuri in Turkey. What is that? Aren't you Turkish? Aren't you Iranian? Aren't you Iraqi? We are who we are. Plus, I remember back in Iran, they used to call us, what is that thing? A religious minority. I was born in Tehran, citizen, Iranian, but that's before the revolution, Islamic revolution. So I was second-hand, I don't want to say this, we were like religious minorities. But the class was different. So I guess when we had these pressures on us, we were able to maintain our faith and our identity, because it's just, I guess, human nature. I mean, for over 2,000 years after we became Christian, we lived in all these empires, nations that were not ours. And as time went and there were a lot of us killed, so many of us in the past 2,000 years under different circumstances. Some they were ethnic, some they were religious, some it's just that when Mongolian came, they killed everybody. We lost 90% of our population then. So looking at where we are right now, the spreading and the different names that we have right now, and like Arameans, the Syriacs, the Chaldeans, Assyrians, it's like, what's going on? The program that last two about the Ashur BC before clergy, because right now what we see is majority of our people they believe in Jesus Christ under different denominations. Of course, we have Protestants also, but that's a different story. They don't get mixed up into being patriot or not, but that's another story. So the denominations have shown now that we are in the year 2025. They are the major force that have created these identities that have separated us. Not only the what they call it, just different denominations, but each one of them has created a separate ethnic identity. So the reason I did the programs about before clergy, I gave a history of small one between when we became Christians and when these let's say denominations started popping up. Now remember, can we show that photo of the empire, the two empires, the Parthian and the Roman? So we start from where Christianity started. When Christianity started, the area that our ancestors lived in were under two separate empires. The western part was under the Romans, the countries that are called today Israel, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. These were under, and all of Turkey, of course, were under the Roman Empire. The other parts of maybe Iraq, some parts of Syria, the Euphrates was the border between these two empires, and it was going back and forth. Of course, Iran, these were under the Persian, and our people lived in both of these empires. And when the Christianity started spreading, we, as I mentioned, Abgar the black. He was in Syria. He was a king, and he that was the history we have from the Roman western part of the our people that they became Christian. Then the eastern part, we have the stories of Saint Thomas, Mar Adday, and a couple of other guys, maybe Saint Peter, and they spread Christianity in the east in the Persian Empire. Now, the virus that I'm calling it a virus, that the position that we are right now, the virus that started it started in the West. For the first 300 years, from the information that I have, if you have other information, different or more detailed, I would love to have it. I don't know everything, but I talk always about something that I do know. And even if it's wrong, I have no problem to admit, just send me information, I'll be corrected. This is a program for you. So from what I have information, the first 300 years that our ancestors became Christian in two separate empires, that they were at war with each other, when our ancestors became Christian for the first 300 years, they did not lose their identity. I have a This is the New Testament documents. Are they reliable? Right? Has nothing to do with the denominations. It's just about New Testament. The guy is writing. I have mentioned this before. I'm going to read from this. It says, about the year 170, an Assyrian Christian named Tatian turned the fourfold gospel into a continuous narrative or harmony of the gospels, which for long was the favorite, if not the official form of the fourfold gospel in the Assyrian church. This is the year 170 after the birth of Jesus Christ. There is the Assyrian church, an Assyrian Christian named Tatian. He did this foretold Bible, and it was the official form of the fourfold gospel in the Assyrian church. It was distinct from the four Gospels in the old Syriac version. It is not certain whether Tatian originally composes harmony, usually known as diatessaron, in Greek or in Syriac. But as it seems to have been compiled at Rome, its original language was probably Greek, and a fragment of Tatian's, that's how they know about this, and a fragment of Tatian's diatessaron in Greek was discovered in the year 1933 at Dora Europos on the Euphrates. You know where is Euphrates? When you look at this map, that's the red circle. I think that's where Euphrates is. At any rate, it was given to the Assyrian Christians in a Syriac form when Tatian returned home from Rome. And its Syriac diatessaron remained the authorized version of the Gospels for them until it was replaced by the Pshitta or simple version in the 5th century. Up until 5th century, the Assyrian church, they were using this. That means we existed, we have our language, and we had the faith and the contribution that was done. The Christendom knows Tatian very well. I don't know how many of you knew about him. When I was reading, I was like, wow, I didn't know. This is year 170. There is Assyrian church. Why I'm mentioning that? Because now I'm going to go through that virus that I was talking to you about. First 300 years, two separate empires, our people being Christian, keeping their identity, everything's going fine. They have bishops, different places. Nobody's ruling over nobody. There is no building, no denomination, no special titles, no special powers, no nothing. First 300 years, the beautiful baby growing, nurtured, great. Then what happens? As I said, the virus comes from the West. This guy, Constantine, was the Caesar or king or whatever you want to call it in Rome. He becomes a vision, sees a vision, goes to war, and that's a cross. And he says, and he wins that war. And he says, because of that sun, it's a Christian symbol. That's the story. He makes Christianity, well, he says Christianity is no longer under persecution. Now, during that time in the Persian Empire, there was no persecution as systematic. There were like people didn't like or whatever, but there was not a systematic persecution of our people in the Persian Empire yet. When Constantine says Christianity no more is persecuted, it's not the official, but they said they can do whatever they want, and he uh, allows certain things. One was a gathering in Nicene. It's called the First Council of Nicaea. I don't want to get too much into that, but what it was that the year 300, these Christians that after getting their freedom, they're no longer under persecution. They are faithfully following their Lord. There is no position, there is no building, there is no dogma, there is no nothing. Just once a week they get together, they do their what they call it, like Last Supper, the wine, bread, Eucharist. There is no father, holy, or anything like that. There are some bishops that they help people. I'm emphasizing on this because after that gathering, and sometime before this gathering, I don't know exactly when, these geniuses they gather together and they say, who is Jesus? Is he God? Is he man? Half God, half man? And different individuals, they come up with their own ideas from what they read in the Gospels about Jesus Christ. Let me share some of these ideologies with you. I don't know how many of you have heard them. So, can we have the first one for our people to have fun with? So, let me go on my notes too, because I have so many of these. So, monophysitism. Monophysitism. I don't know how to pronounce this. I don't care. Monos. These monos, a Christian theological doctrine asserting that Jesus Christ has only one nature, which is divine rather than being both divine and human. Wait a minute. I just noticed. My apologies. This is heresy. I forgot to put this Ashur. Sorry about that. This is like, without that, I can't even do the program. I was wondering why I was so sloppy in the beginning. All right. Christian theological doctrine asserting that Jesus Christ has only one nature, which is divine, rather than being both divine and human, a belief that arose in the early centuries of Christianity, was condemned as heretical by the Council of Chalcedon in the year 451. Pay attention to these years, 300, 400. Then another, besides monotheism, is that simple term. Can we see the other one? Arianism. Arianism, do we have that? All right. Arianism is a Christian belief that Jesus, while divine, was created by God and is not of the same essence or nature as God the Father. Therefore, rejected the traditional Christian concept of the Trinity. So said Jesus was created, is not this. Okay. I don't want to get into, but these are the things that entered theological and heretical, and they started talking about these. So we have monophysism, Arianism, then we go into Nestorianism. Let's share that with our people here. I took these AI overview, just something that you have an idea of what is out there being talked about, these different beliefs about who Jesus is or was. Nestorianism, a Christian theological doctrine, posits that Jesus Christ exists as two distinct persons, one divine and one human, rather than a unified person with both natures. This view, associated with Nestorius, was condemned at the Council of Ephesus in 431, leading to a schism and the formation of the Assyrian Church of the East. So this is AI. AI is telling us Nestorianism was that guy Nestorius, and he was condemned Council of Ephesus in 431 after the birth of Christ, leading to a schism and the formation of the Assyrian Church of the East. Wait a minute. The Assyrian Church existed from the year 170. Mr. AI, who puts that information in AI? I don't trust AI. Somebody puts information there that they think is right. Right here, we know AI is full of it. How? Because it says that Nestorius and the Nestorianism is the one that created the Assyrian Church of the East, which at that time was the Church of the East, in the year 431. Right here. This guy is talking about not church history, he's talking about New Testament documents. He's talking about Tatian, year 170, Assyrian church existing. It didn't start at 170. At 170, it was already existing. They had the language and they had the identity and they were Christians. No problems then, right? This Nestorius comes and they're talking about these different dogmas, whatever you want to call them. Then after Nestorianism, let's try to see what this other guy has. Man, this is a big test on my English. Diophysiticism is a Christ. I'm making fun of him. You know that it's the nonsense and BS, and I'm not meaning Bible studies, but yeah, Diophytism is a Christological position accepted by the majority of Christian denominations that Jesus Christ is one person with two distinct, inseparable natures, divine and human. That was the fourth one. We had mono, we had Arianism, we had Nestorianism, we have Diophysitism. Now we have another one. Can we see that one too? Miaphysitism is a Christian doctrine that Jesus Christ is both fully divine and fully human, but in one nature. The term comes from the Greek word mia, single, and physis, nature. Then let's see the other one. It says the churches that are Miaphysite, the Oriental Orthodox. Can we see that one too? the Oriental Orthodox. These are the Miaphysite churches. Oriental Orthodox churches, including the Armenian Apostolic Church, the Syrian Orthodox Church, which that's why I'm reading from that, and the Coptic Orthodox Church hold this position. Some independent Catholic churches, including the Antiochian Catholic Church in America, also embrace this Christology. For those of you, my brothers and sisters, that are members of the Orthodox Church, Syriac Orthodox Church, do you know what is the belief? Is it Miaphysite? Have you heard of that? Taught? Do you know what that is? The difference between Miaphysite and Diophysitism, these doctrines that you go to this church. Any of you have any idea that they talk about this, or you just go to church and you just praise Lord, hallelujah, take your Eucharist and go home? Why am I mentioning this? Can we see that this other one? They have these diagrams. I'm just showing it to you, like they're confusing people even more. Who's God the Father, person of Christ? Incarnation is God taking on a human nature, but Christ, who is true God and true man, is the bridge between God and man. It's like, what is this? Why am I bringing this up? Because, as I mentioned, up for the first 300 years of Christianity in our nation being in two, the Ashur people being in two different empires, Persian or Parthian and Roman, which were enemies. Our people became Christian first in the western part, the Roman part, then in the eastern part, as where is this book here? As Dr. Wigram writes in his book, where's this? An Introduction to the History of the Assyrian Church, or the Church of the Sassanid Persian Empire. He starts it from the year when the Sassanid took over, but we started during the Parthian Empire. So we are all same. Then, as I said, this virus came in, this ideologies came in, and one of them was Nestorius. He was kicked out. He was from Edessa or Nasibin. Then he goes, he's Syriac. They call him, he's Syriac. He's one of us. He wasn't like a Greek or Latin or whatever. So for the first 300 in the West, then in the East, according to Dr. Wigram, in the capital city, Sitisfun, something happens while these freedoms are being given to the, what they call it, to the Christianity in Roman Empire. And they start having these positions and these cities, Jerusalem, Rome, Antioch, Alexandria, and later Constantinople. When Constantine moves from Rome, he goes to Constantinople. He builds a city for himself, which today is called Istanbul. Right? I hear it's a beautiful city. I haven't been there yet. So while these are going on over there, and then they have these 7 council of churches talking about the nature of Christ. I think this book wasn't enough for them, this Bible. These theological talks, who's Jesus, half man, half human, then they go to talk about his mother. If Jesus was half human and half God, then the mother is half mother of God and half mother of Christ, and the elevation of Mary. I mean, I'm just giving you a history of what it is. In the Bible, in the Gospels, the nature is not about debate, is what he did, that he rose from the dead. But I don't want to get too much into that part. Let me get to the fun parts. We're running out of time. I talk too much sometimes. Okay, let's see the virus. What did the virus create, right? All these talks about nature of Jesus, and slowly this clergy started gaining powers. They started putting position. One is a patriarch, then they have the cardinal, then they have positions. because when the Christianity became free after what's his name, Constantine. First, it became free, no more persecution. A couple or next Caesar or couple more after that, it became the main religion of the Roman Empire. So all these temples and everything that they had to be converted into church, into a building. And that's how we have all these. I don't want to get too much into them because today is not the time to talk about these. But once these started, the positioning, the titles, and they gaining power over people, deciding about Jesus, who it is, and these Arianism, monophysite ideas, then we see that virus affecting our people. How? Let's go. We start with these Melkites. So I didn't think Melkite had anything to do with our people, but I was looking at the history of Melkites, and I'm putting here the difference between Melkites and Maronites here. The name Melkite is an Ashuri name. It's like it comes from King Melka. And the group that is called Melkites, originally their language, their ethnicity, everything was Ashuri, Syrian, Then they changed it. Now, the only difference, as we see here, says Melkite church, similar to the Maronite church, originated in the Middle East, specifically in Antioch. But while the Maronite Christians utilize a liturgy that developed in the Syriac tradition, liturgy of Melkite church is that of Greek Byzantium. So Melkites, the first thing that we see here that they lost their identity is Melkites. When these, because we go to Maronite, let's check the Church of Maronites, see what is the story with that. So Maronites is a Syriac Christian ethno-religious group, trace their origins to Saint Maron, a 4th century hermit. 4th century means the year 300. That these years are very important. This is when the stuff hit the fan, and it affected our people big time. That today we are seeing the effect of that virus that was put in our nation 1700 years ago. All right, Saint Maron, 4th century hermit who lived in Syria, and his followers who formed a monastic community near Antioch, eventually establishing Maronite church. And these they have their own Christological beliefs like nature. I will not get into that, but I told you about these monophysite, diophysite, Arianism, everything. Then we have the Jacobite Syrian Christian Church, and this is now specifically in India, but it says here that is an autonomous branch of the Syriac Orthodox Church. And for what I just found out today, and it says here the term Jacobite originally referred to Miaphysite from the Church of Antioch, but was later embraced by the church. So as you can see, these effects of mono, dio, mia, aria, they're affecting these denominations that separate and become separate and changing. And what I found out today was Jacobite, when they outside of the church, Orthodox Church, when they use that term, it's a term of insult. And I refer to that with when you get to the Nestorian. The Syriac Orthodox Church, can we go to that? The Syriac Orthodox Church traces its origin to the early Christian community in Antioch. Everything is Antioch. Where is Antioch? Syria. Where is Syria? Ashur. The Syriac Orthodox Church traces the origin to the early church Christian community in Antioch, where the followers of Jesus were first called Christians. And it became distinct in the 6th century after split, following the Council of Chalcedon in 450. Split. Why? Then we have Chaldean Catholic. Can you see that? The Chaldean Catholic Church traces its origin to the Church of the East, an ancient Christian church in Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, with roots dating back to the 1st century CE, and the teachings of St. Thomas the Apostle. Then another one, it says the ancient roots. If you can see that, the Chaldean Catholic Church is an Eastern Catholic Church in communing with the Pope. Can we see the other one? It says ancient roots. In communion with Pope in Rome, and its roots can be traced to the Church of the East. Roots of Chaldean Church traces to the Church the East, which was founded in the Parthian Empire. This is like the earliest, year, I don't know, like 50, 60 years after birth of Christ. Origin of the Chaldean goes back to church. Then the next one we're going to show you is the reunion with Rome. It says Chaldean Catholic Church was formed in the 1500s when some members of the Church of the East, known as Nestorians, came into communion with the Roman Catholic Church. Chaldean rite or liturgy can be traced back to the Syriac Christian culture of Edessa and gained its present basic structure in the 7th century. The official language of Chaldean masses is Syriac, which is an Aramaic dialect. And I remember Dr. Ephraim Yildiz that he had an issue. He wrote a letter to the patriarch that says, why are you changing the official language, the liturgy, when you want to do this, you want to do it in Arabic. Why are you changing it into Syriac? But that's another story. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is the Assyrian Church of the East, also known as the Holy Apostolic Catholic Assyrian Church of the East, traces its roots origin to the See of Seleucia Sigismund, founded by St. Thomas. So this is the one that is established in the Persian Empire, not the one that we have Tatian and Saint Ephraim the Great. I forgot to mention his name. These are in the Roman Empire. Establishing, becoming Christian, our people keeping their identity for 300 years until these viruses come about. Nature of Christ, then Nestorius has issue with them, and he becomes part of the Assyrian Church of, well, now it's called Assyrian Church, but the Church of the East. So, and it says, traces the origin to the See of Seleucia Sigismund, which was the capital of the empire, Persia, founded by St. Thomas, and others developed in the regions of Assyria, Babylonia, Persia, east of the Roman Byzantine Empire. Then we have the other one, organization and structure. It says in the 4th century, the Church of the East was organized under the Catholicos Patriarch of Seleucia, Sigismund, who later became known as the Patriarch. Keep that word in mind, Patriarch. Then the Church of the East developed its own unique identity tradition, distinct from the churches in the Roman Empire. So they were like different, all these other ones that they had their centers in Rome, Jerusalem, Antioch, Alexandria in Egypt, and Constantinople. So, how we doing? How we doing? Not good. All these diseases that came from the West entered our people, and I don't know what church of the, if you're a member of the Church of the East, are you Monophysite, Diophysite, Arianism? Do you know about this? Because Church of Orthodox Church, Syriac Orthodox Church, they are part of that Maya theism. I'm trying to put it in a nice way. Ashur B.C., before clergy, was pure for 300 years. Two separate empires. We lived, we practiced our faith, and we didn't lose our identity. The clergy came in with the ideas that had nothing to do with this book. Look at us now. Aramean, Syriac, Chaldean, Assyrian. I mean, when I say Assyrian, I'm not saying, oh, these are the right. No, we are all the same. We are all Ashuri. One identity. Let me leave you with this last one before we finish the program. We're running a little bit late. Can we see that last photo? Jesus. This is Gospel of Matthew. Right? And call no man your father upon the earth. So we have these patriarchs. We have patriarch. We have pope, papa, patriarch. What is that? Father. Pope is father of fathers, are these cardinals, everything. I've talked about this. I mean, one other thing before I forget. If you don't believe in this book, fine. But this is what it says, and these people claim to represent the person that is talking about these. They don't even follow it. Do as I do? No. Do as I say, but not as I do. I rule over you. Call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your father which is in heaven. That's the only father. No pope, no patriarch. These are man-made and have divided our people. The other part that Jesus says, neither ye be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. Master, we use the word mar, Lord. Lord. Every one of these that I mentioned, all these, they have lords, they have mar. Patriarch, Lord. Jesus says none of these, neither one. Who's the problem? Right? Jesus, clergy. Ahaya Ashur Chaya. We come to the conclusion of the program today. Thank you for watching. I know there is a lot of stuff that I read. I don't know how much of this stuff do you know, but when I read these, I find out, I said, wait a minute. This is what's the problem. We're following these individuals who created these division among us. Check for yourself. However, as I said, Ahya Ashur Chaya. There will be an Ashur. I don't know when. I don't care. Our part is maintaining our identity. Chaya Ashur, Shemid Ashur. Mabqila, thank you for watching and goodbye.
شيخاني